Let's remember what we're trying to do is focus on the things we can control in a crazy, stressful world.
Hello, my creative friend. Welcome to the BDI Create Today podcast. This is a podcast where we'll discover the who, what, where, when, why, and how you can be creative or have more creativity. And together, we'll explore the extraordinary impact creativity can have in your life, in your heart, mind, body, and soul. And if we haven't met yet, I am Beth Buffington, a licensed artist, digital illustration instructor, and a creative coach living just outside of the windy city of Chicago, Illinois. But mostly, I am someone who is curious about how creativity can weave its way into our lives. Now, each week, we're going to look at one or more of the sparkly facets that make up the ever-changing kaleidoscope that is creativity. Welcome back to another episode of Create Today with Beth Buffington. I am thrilled to welcome Lisa Murphy back for the second of a two-series episode. Lisa is a healthy aging coach who is dedicated to helping all people enhance their well-being. She helps people find comfort and health in the season of life that they are walking in today. She came to talk about her pillars of health. She has one pillar for the morning and one pillar in the evening. And the information that she shared with us about these pillars, oh my goodness, coming to us at the perfect time. Because our world, it's a bit much lately. It's causing stress and anxiety for people around the world. And inside our own lives, we not only have the pressure that the news is pressing down upon us, but we also have the stress, the anxiety that we have for our families, for the people that we need to care for the decisions we need to make about finances, about jobs, about businesses. Life can be a lot. And if we let our worries and anxiety about the things happening in our life take focus away from what is really important in our lives, well, it keeps us from being the people that we need to be for the people who need us most. Last week, Lisa shared with us her morning pillar of health, and she gave us incredible tips for a balanced and healthy morning routine that will help us escape the downward spiral that we can face if we let our phones and email and the breaking news become our first focus of the day. So this week, we explore how establishing an equally important evening ritual will set us up for a better tomorrow. And at the end of the last episode, I mentioned that I was going to add some of Lisa's morning pillar advice to my life. So before we start our conversation on evening rituals, let me share a quick minute about how I added some of Lisa's wisdom to my morning. So it's only been a week, but I followed Lisa's advice and I added a few things to my morning. First, I decided I wanted to change my caffeine first focus. So I started making lemon water in the morning. I also added a quick dribble of honey. I definitely needed a little something sweet to settle down the tart of the lemon and the zing of the ginger. To make the transition from coffee first to lemon water first, I made both coffee and lemon water at the beginning of the week, and they would sit side by side at the table, and I would sip on them both. It only took me a couple of days to look forward to having this new drink. And then I realized I started drinking more lemon water in the morning than my coffee. And as of this morning, my coffee went cold and was barely touched. And I was really downing that lemon water. So I think I'm about ready to wait to have my coffee after my lemon water is finished. I've also concentrated on not having the news on in the morning. Instead, I'm listening to birdsong, as she suggested, and I've added a couple of new podcasts that are about meditation. Last week, we talked about giving ourselves stickers every time we did something that was new. So this week, I started keeping track of all these new pieces of goodness in my journal. And instead of a sticker, I did a hand drawn kind of doodle sticker to say, check, you had lemon water. Check, you didn't listen to the news. Check, you enjoyed birdsong or you listened to a guided meditation. And I'm going to figure out something fun to treat myself with if I can keep up this new morning ritual, 5 to 6 days a week. I think that will be a success. Now, if you have an idea of something special you might do to celebrate the goodness you've added to your morning, I'd love to hear your idea. Please share with me. So there you go. That's how my morning has changed in this past week. These were small additions, but they're feeling good. They're feeling real good. So let's turn our attention now to our evenings. Please, my friend, welcome back, Lisa Murphy, and listen in as Lisa and I chat about the importance of having an evening pillar of health.
So going on to the evening,
Yes, let's talk evening.
the same thing is true, and maybe even more so because really our next day starts the night before.
Uh huh.
So if we think about a typical evening where, again, we turn on the news, we are still checking our emails, we might have a late dinner, we get back on the computer, we're still checking our emails, we might even take our computer to bed and say we're going to do some work, I've got to get this done. We might have a TV in our bedroom, and so we're watching TV in bed. And then as we pick up our phone to set the alarm, we take one last look at Instagram. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. Every single one of those habits is adding to our stress. Little hits of cortisol, little hits of adrenaline, because the brain can't tell the difference between that kind of even low grade chronic stress, just the noise, literally and figuratively, and us being chased by a tiger. So the brain
Yeah.
is like, holy cow, we're in danger again. Stress hormones so that we can
Yeah.
fight or flee when we're trying to go to sleep.
Yep. Oh my gosh. I used to work at a company that the owner would send emails. This chime would come in letting you know you had a work email. And there were times where he would send an email at midnight. And I still to this day hear that chime from other people's phones. And it just sets me
Trigger.
off like I have just been bit by a jaguar. Yeah. Woo. So yeah, you do not need that kind of evening unrest. And we used to go to bed without phones. We used to just have a wind up alarm clock, right? Do you remember that you had to wind up your alarm clock?
And if we think about, I'm just thinking about some of the examples that I gave and the similar examples in the morning. And let's just face it, a lot of it comes down to device use or phone. If your listeners are thinking, I don't have time for my own art, I don't have time to create, how much time are we wasting? Because we're not
Exactly.
being aware or intentional about our days, especially
No.
the mornings and the evenings. So
Yeah.
I bet you we could get back 15, 20, 30, 45, 60 minutes a day by
Mhm.
simply implementing your own personal pillars.
So, a good experiment would be to be mindful about the time you're spending on the phone. How, when you find yourself scrolling on TikTok or Instagram, stop and think, how long have I been doing that?
Absolutely. So for evenings, speaking for myself, most of us could probably eat earlier, and
Mm.
that would benefit
Oh my gosh, me too.
everything.
So hard to eat earlier.
I know it is for me too, but we know that when we eat earlier, our digestion works better. We
Mhm.
have more time for that wind down routine because a
Yep.
lot of eating dinner late and literally just brushing my teeth and falling into bed. Well, that doesn't allow the nervous system to settle. It
Mhm.
doesn't allow me time to set myself up for my morning pillar the next day. So eating a little bit earlier is probably a good idea for almost all of us. After dinner, I like to take a walk, maybe with the dogs. We'll just walk around the block. Now that the weather's getting nicer, we'll be in the garden. So getting outside before you go to bed. I too like to relax with a Netflix show after dinner. I find that relaxing. Maybe the most difficult, but the most impactful is to observe a power down hour where we shut off all devices at least 1 hour before we go to bed. So you can see why we need to eat dinner earlier if we're going to start backing things up so that we have
Yeah.
no devices an hour before bed.
Yeah.
A TV in your bedroom and anything with a screen.
So this is where a lot of this evening ritual stuff gets a little dicey, I think. Like I am alone in the morning. No one's in the house, just me and a raspberry, my pup. So it's really easy for me to be in control in the morning. Now in the evening, that's when Tom and I are eating dinner together or watching television. And just sitting down to him say, "Oh, hey, instead of having dinner at 8, we're not going to do it at 5:30, and then we're going to take a walk outside, and we're not going to do any TV, and then I'm going to have an hour of nothing." I mean, he's going to look at me like, "What now?"
Now, remember, we're only focusing on the things that we can control. Yeah,
Yes.
but you bring up a great point. Some of you may live with people who think this is just completely crazy and they could never do that. Again, what can you control for yourself? And I'm going to be really honest. When we make changes like this, it can be difficult for the people around us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we only can do what we can do. And that means taking care of ourselves first. So, relationship is always a compromise, no matter whom it's with. But this may require you to compromise a little. It may require a conversation with your partner, whoever you live
Mhm.
with. Hey, I'm going to try this. I'd love it if you wanted to join me, but if not, that's okay. I understand. It's a big change, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like you've said, you don't need to do all of it at once. Just like, hey, tonight we're eating at 5:30. We're taking a walk. We are having an hour power down and let it out, all these things all at once. And yeah, that's going to cause some unrest in the house. But if you could look at your evening and say, maybe we could eat an hour earlier, or maybe I will just pull myself away from the television an hour earlier and give myself some time alone. Just figure out a way that you can do some things on your own without causing a lot of unrest in the house, because that is not going to help with your cortisol levels. If in trying to calm down, you mess up the routines and the just the general good humor in a home.
100%. You don't want to change directions in the middle of a stream on people because that does create more stress. But yeah,
Mm,
you gave some great examples. Another thing is like, I'm going to take a walk around the block. Would you like to join me?
yes.
No pressure. Like, you don't have to, everybody doesn't have to join us on this journey.
Yeah.
Or I think I'm going to go finish that painting I've been working on. I'll be in my studio.
Right.
If it's the TV in the bedroom, which I hear a lot, if that's the problem, if you've got a TV in your bedroom, you probably have at least one other TV. So that might be a conversation with your partner. Hey, you know what? I'm going to spend this last hour before I go to sleep reading in quiet. Or maybe you start with 10 minutes. If you've been watching TV right up till you go to bed, maybe you start with 10 minutes. Maybe you start with 15. Or maybe you ask your partner to watch their last show in the other room, or maybe they'd like to join you in quiet. So nobody said this is going to be super easy, right? We might have to have some difficult conversations with ourselves and with others in our life.
Yeah.
I will say this last thing about the TV and the bed or the noise. Worst case, you can always get a pair of earplugs and an eye mask.
There you go. Great idea. Great idea.
And so by being very intentional about what you're choosing, and that's what this is all about. Let's be intentional. Even if, okay, so let's say we even are going to watch a show, even if we're going to watch a show 3 hours before bed, what are
Mhm.
you watching? We'll
Yes.
start something that's really violent and chaotic and crazy. And I'm just like, you know what? I can't do that right now. And again, what we're trying to do, let's remember what we're trying to do is focus on the things we can control in a crazy, stressful world.
I think Netflix could make a ton of money just having an area where it would be like stuff to
Mm,
watch before you go to bed. I think that's a category that is overlooked in television. I hope
I
there's
agree.
television people listening and that they'll take
Netflix.
that.
Netflix, are you listening? Yeah, are you listening? Right. So a warm bath might be a nice piece of an evening pillar for
Mhm.
someone. Again, maybe going in your studio and working on your art relaxes you. That's a wonderful thing to build your pillar on. And it's different for everyone. And if you don't know, try some experiments and see
Yeah.
and figure it out for yourself. And then give yourself loads of grace. If you've been doing things the other way for a really long time, it's going to take some
Mhm.
time, and that is okay.
Yeah. And I think again to remember that these are things that you're gifting yourself and
Mm,
that it is okay to receive these gifts.
absolutely.
So that kindness is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think it's selfish, really think again, because
Mhm.
how are you going to be showing up for your family, for your work, when you start your day with that adrenaline, cortisol, caffeine, bad news cocktail versus even just taking a very few minutes to yourself before you present yourself to the world?
Right. Because the reason we're talking about this today is we're finding ways to settle ourselves, to find a little calm in our day so that we can be able to control the things we can control. And,
Absolutely.
but like Lisa said, this isn't a magic pill. You have to be intentional while you're doing that. I think that's the key, right?
I try to be, I mean, for me, that's really what it's all about is being mindful. And I'm a big meditator. I love that aspect of it. For someone else, it may not be, but so I do like to stand there and really tune into my senses. But even if that isn't meaningful to you, the very acts of these things, it is like a way of tricking your nervous system.
Right.
So even if you're not finding great meaning in it to begin with, you are having a physiological effect on your system. And that's what we're after here. We're looking to balance things out.
Phones literally trigger some bad stuff in your body,
Yes.
right?
No matter what
And
your intention is, no matter what your intention is, right?
yep, phones, tablets, computers, televisions, all the same. But if we can take a look at that and realize that you need to balance that with things that are natural.
And rituals are comforting, just period. End of story.
Yeah.
If we're doing something repeatedly that's not bad for us, it's comforting and we will come to associate it with that.
What's our best takeaway for the things that we've talked about here?
I would say if you're already doing most of these things, good for you. And there's always room for refinement or for revisiting. Just
Mhm.
because you did it for 10 years doesn't mean it's still serving you. So kind of reevaluating, oh, would this fit better? Or maybe you want to change it up seasonally. So my pillars are definitely different when the weather's
Yeah.
spring, summer, and fall than they are in the winter. So I would say if you're old hat at this, revisit it and just kind of ask yourself, is this still working for me? And or are there seasonal tweaks I could make? Start by making a list,
Yeah.
two lists. One list of things that might be grounding to you for the morning and a list of things that might be grounding and balancing for you in the evening. Just start by making a list. And you can make an art project out of it. You could stick it on a sticky note on your computer or on your desk and just kind of sit with it for a few days.
I love that idea. I also think that write down the elephants in the room. What are the things that you're doing right now that are probably not
Yeah,
beneficial for you?
I love that. What's causing me the most pain right now?
Yeah.
Costing me the most? What's causing me the most pain? What's keeping me from creating? What are those things?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, call out the elephant in the room. That's great,
Yeah.
Beth. I love that.
Lisa and I are going to be doing some retreats that are going to combine the health and wellness that Lisa knows so well with the daily creative passions that I know bring you into a happier mindset in heart, mind, body, and soul.
Beth, I'm so glad you brought it up because when you come to our retreat, you will get a chance to practice and experience these rituals, these morning pillars and these evening pillars, because they will undoubtedly be built in. You'll be able to practice them in a really low risk environment because your family, your kids, your husbands, your partners won't be with you.
Yes.
You're going to
Yes.
get to see how amazing they feel and how creative you are when you observe them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just a perfect chance to practice your pillars.
So if you're listening out there right now and you're thinking, ooh, yes, please. We do want to hear from you. And feel free to reach out to us and ask us some questions, some things you might like to see in the retreat. We're really interested in just absorbing a lot of goodness. So let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you.
It'll be fun. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Lisa, thank you so much for coming and chit chatting today about evening rituals and the pillars that we can set up, pillars of strength that will just help fortify us as we travel from morning pillar to evening pillar, and how we prepare for that next day. What a gift. What a gift that you've given us that now we can turn around and give back to ourselves. Find time to be kind to yourself today. Think about what you're going to do this evening to set up yourself for a good day in the morning. What does that look like? And how could you make a little change in what you're doing? And whatever you do, my friends, I know that you will stay creative. Thanks a lot for coming, Lisa. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Beth. Bye.